They came up to my father. They said, "Your son is brilliant at music. He'd be an incredible musician." This is not what my father wanted to hear. You know, this was not the greatest thing.
Did you ever play an instrument?
I played, like, for very short periods of time, the flute. Would you believe
really?
that?
Did you like it?
I had flute lessons. It's the first person that's ever asked me that crazy question. Yeah, I had flute. Can you believe it? I could have been a flutist.
That was President Trump speaking with Miranda Devine on her podcast, Pod Force One, which offers an inside look at the White House in Trump's second term.
In this episode, we sit down with Devine, who peels back the curtain on the administration and the president's cabinet. I'm Daily Wire executive editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. This is a weekend edition of Morning Wire.
America is built on hard work and powered by American energy. Chevron has spent $44 billion with local businesses across all 50 states since 2022, fueling infrastructure and communities, all while strengthening local economies. Last year, Chevron increased U.S. production nearly 20%, powering communities and businesses from the heartlands to the coasts. We're helping to fuel America's energy advantage, building a brighter future right here at home. Visit chevron.com/America to discover more.
You may have heard of HelloFresh. They're the #1 meal kit in America, making home cooking easier with chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients delivered straight to your door. But this fall, they're serving up even more love. This isn't the HelloFresh you remember, it's better. They've seriously upgraded the health factor too, with 15+ high-protein meals each week featuring grass-fed ribeyes, lamb chops, and other premium cuts. Here's the kicker. Steak and seafood are now included every week at no extra cost, and they've tripled their seafood options so you can enjoy quality protein whenever you want. You'll also get to experiment with fresh seasonal produce like leeks, broccolini, and Italian eggplant, plus dig into cozy, hearty dishes like classic beef chili and honey-glazed pork tenderloin that capture the best of the season. HelloFresh also has these absolutely killer taco recipes. I think I've ordered just about every kind they have, and they've taken Taco Tuesday to a whole new level. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/MorningWire10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free breakfast for life. One per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discounts on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/MorningWire10FM to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life.
Joining us now to give us a glimpse behind the scenes in the White House is Miranda Devine, columnist at the New York Post and host of the Pod Force One podcast. Miranda, welcome. Good to see you again.
Pleasure, John. Good to see you too.
So look, we're really fascinated with your new podcast, Pod Force One. It's a real mover and shaker in the news industry. First, tell us about the launch of that. What inspired that and how's it gone so far?
Well, thanks, John. It was really Donald Trump, a conversation between Donald Trump and my editor-in-chief, Keith Poole. And that was how the name came about, Pod Force One. It's a take on Air Force One, because we were hoping to make a sort of almost like a diary of Donald Trump's presidency, his second term, and to just do these periodic interviews with him that were a little sort of off the daily news pace, although, I mean, with Donald Trump, it's always news, but just a little bit more exploring what makes him tick, because he's such a unique character in history. And so far, I think I've had 3 interviews with him, each one different and each one driven by, his personality, his enthusiasms, and things, that we didn't know before. Like, for instance, that he has his parents had him aptitude tested when he was a small, rambunctious boy, and to his father's chagrin, he turned out, Donald Trump, to have a musical genius. And so his mother got him to learn how to play the flute, which he was slightly embarrassed about.
Flute. It's hard to imagine. The relationship between the cabinet members is particularly interesting. Things from the outside look very amicable. Is this, in your sense, is this a true team? Do you feel like there's a lot of unity there, or is it more complicated?
No, I do feel there is unity. I mean, there's a couple of them that are sort of locking horns because there's so many alpha males. I mean, obviously you think about Howard Lutnick, and Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary. Elon Musk, of course, butted heads with several of them, including most famously in a stoush that turned physical outside the Oval Office door with President Trump listening in between Elon Musk and Scott Bessent. So, look, there are those sorts of periodic eruptions, but from what I've seen and from talking to them, and at one point, President Trump, I was waiting to interview him, and he, as his wont, he called someone to go get me and come in and say hi because he was running so late. And around the Resolute desk were several cabinet members, and they were all, there was bonhomie, and Donald Trump was making jokes and, praising them and, just being his sort of ebullient self. And I think that's the kind of presidency that he runs. He has an open door policy. The cabinet members are in and out all the time. And interviewing each one of them, they're really remarkable people, with great achievements in their past anyway. And just fascinating. I mean, one of the things that I have discovered, and I want to write a column about this, is that I think it's like 7 out of 10 or out of 12 have had the same childhood experience, which is something tragic and dramatic happened with their father when they were around 12 years old, some a little older. So either their father died from cancer, was very badly injured. In the case of Mike Johnson, he's not a cabinet member, but the speaker, he was a firefighter, badly burned. Doug Burgum's father was killed in a grain farming accident. Scott Bessent's father went broke at about that age, and the family, lost everything. So each one of them, I just find that fascinating that there was this traumatic incident at that young age, which made them grow up very fast and possibly brought them to where they are today.
That's totally fascinating. So some sort of psychological connection there amongst a lot of these guys. What do you think is the defining difference with the second term of Trump versus the first term of Trump? I mean, we've seen it seemed kind of chaotic in the first term. A lot of that was media driven, but there were some major issues behind the scenes. What's so different now?
I think he had 4 years to think about how best to harness the power of the presidency. And this time he is making sure that he uses the authority he has as commander-in-chief to impose his will on the entire world and the country. And he's not nervous or shy or insecure about using it. In his first term, he really wasn't. He'd been in Washington, I think, a few times, and he didn't really know the way the city worked and the deep state. And it's a very different beast from, private enterprise, especially the New York developing game. So he also had 4 years to look at how Joe Biden was screwing everything up, and I guess he had a burning desire to vindicate himself and come back. And he's done that, and he knows he has very little time. So everyone is working on Trump time. People half his age run ragged, but they all seem to be rowing in the same direction. And a lot of that is down to Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, his campaign co-chair, who is just a dynamo. She's, he calls her the Ice Maiden. She's tough as nails, incredibly competent, but also very kind. And she's like, a den mother to a lot of these young staff. She makes sure that they're able to get home in time to see their babies and their spouses. And she doesn't question Donald Trump, but she does steer him in the right direction. The way she described it to me when I interviewed her was that she tries to make sure that anything that irritates him, she neutralizes before it becomes a problem.
And meanwhile, we have this massive historic peace deal brokered by Trump. Only Trump could have done it. I think even people on the left have to acknowledge it took someone like him, maybe only him, to get this deal done. And that's really overshadowing, I think, a lot of the blowback potential for the shutdown against Trump, at least. I've got a question about the media. You talked about the media bias there. Have you seen any lightening up at all from the media in terms of their approach to Trump? Any more sense of fairness among any of the outlets? Or are we seeing the same old thing that we saw from the first term and during the Biden presidency?
All the same, apart from with this peace deal. And, I was amazed seeing all these headlines of all these liberal broadsheets that were positive about Donald Trump. And I thought, where's the snark? I scanned the story, no snark. Morning Joe, David Ignatius, all these very strong Trump critics are just giving him unalloyed praise and saying, well, Joe Biden tried, but he just wasn't able to pull it off. I think a little sour note in there is that Antony Blinken and Biden world, and presumably we're hearing Joe Biden behind the scenes, are kind of grousing that they aren't getting credit. They're saying, oh, this is their plan, which is ridiculous. But, Donald Trump had the foresight and the ability to go and stitch up these friendships with the Arab countries. And then he was able to leverage those into forcing Hamas to come to the table.
Right. And we had Israel, of course, taking out more and more of the assets for Iran so that they're weakened. That working together also with Trump's amazing strike on the nuclear facilities. Can't believe how quickly they were sort of defanged. Projecting forward, next few months, what do you think are the priorities for the Trump administration? What are the headwinds? What are the potential wins for them?
Well, I think China is a big challenge. It's sort of the elephant in the room. Meanwhile, in Russia, I'm sure that Donald Trump will get straight stuck into trying to effect a deal with Steve Witkoff, with Putin and Zelensky. And I think the Ukrainians have been very clever and strategic in causing more damage to Russia. Russia now has, lines of people waiting for hours to get gas. Their economy is really teetering. And I noticed that Putin came out with some praise for Donald Trump over the Gaza deal. So he's trying to make nicey. So let's see where that happens. I think that Zelensky and Ukraine have sort of set the table for Donald Trump to come in and try again to make a hard bargain with Putin.
Yeah, really solidifying his president of peace moniker. We'll see if that can also happen in Ukraine. Right. Miranda, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, John. It was a pleasure.
That was Miranda Devine of Pod Force One, and this has been a weekend edition of Morning Wire.